Hey guys, in this video I'm gonna show you a step-by-step process of how you can schedule posts on Next with Next.js in a future date. So the first part of this video, I'm gonna walk you through this diagram. We'll explain you all of how the process will work, and then the second part is actually the coding part. We're gonna build this application that you see on the diagram. So let's just quick see the steps here. So the first step is that you have to do is actually you have to make a login screen with a Twitter account so the users can log in it with their X, so the post we can make from their X account. So that's has to be made by OAuth. It doesn't matter if you use just the vanilla OAuth flow, or you're gonna use a different identity provider like Clerk, Supabase, Auth0, or any other identity provider. In this video, I'm gonna show you the exact login with X via Clerk. So we're gonna use Clerk for that part, but you can use whatever you want, guys. So the second part is gonna be actually collecting the data. So we will make a form where users can put up the text of the post, and then we have to send this data to a Redis queue, which will save the data until a specific moment. So let's say we would like to post this tweet after an hour, so it's gonna be saved into this Redis queue with a delay of 1 hour. Then we are gonna create a node worker that is gonna listen for specific events from that queue, and once the times for the tweet to be posted is coming, it's actually is gonna pull the data and it's gonna make a request to X via their API, and you post the tweet from the actual profile that has been logged on the first step. So that's exactly how it works. So first we have to create an X app, like a developer app, and we have to get the client secret and the client ID for our authentication and connect it to our Clerk settings. So let's just open the X developer portal so you can make a register. It's free. You have like a 200 posts per month or something like that on a free version. So on this dashboard there is an add app button. When you click it, you can make an application name. So let's say it's gonna be Alex YouTube tutorials, or just YouTube tutorials. Let's say when we create that app, the second part is gonna be actually the API key and the API secret. So we're gonna miss that part and we'll go jump into the app settings. So we have to set up the authentication settings. So when you click on this button, you're gonna see the actual flow that is gonna be created with the auth. So we would like to read and write posts, and it's gonna be a web application, and this is be the callback URI of your identity provider. So right now we have to open Clerk. So this is just a new Clerk application, and once you open the configure tab, there is a SSO connections tab. So once you open it, you can basically choose the X provider, and here you're gonna see that you have to put a quant ID, quant secret, and they give you the callback URI. So basically, once you authenticate via X, they will return your data to Clerk. So Clerk will save that data, and every single time when you log in, the data will exist in Clerk. So it's gonna have the access token, it's gonna have your username, it's gonna have your profile picture and your name, and it's gonna be able to access this X API so you can make a post to Twitter. So I'm gonna copy the callback URI and you put it back in the callback URI on the app info. And in the website URL, you have to put your production link. But once I'm working on localhost, since I'm working on localhost, I have I'm using ngrok. So basically ngrok will allows you to expose your localhost port on a specific URL. So it's every single time once you start the ngrok command, you're gonna receive a URL, like a unique URL that you can access your application. So that's the localhost that we have. So basically you have to put it inside the website URL. So that's all of the settings that you need on X. So you have to save this one and you create the application. So here is the OAuth 2.0 quant ID and quant secret. So I will get this one and will put inside the Clerk settings. So this is the quant ID and this is the quant secret. So initially, Twitter gives you scopes like user read, tweet read, and offline access. And if you want to write specific posts, you have to add a new scope, which is gonna be tweet.write. And this is the settings for Clerk for our authentication. So once I added this connection, you're gonna see that everything is set up. And once I'm going to sign in screen via Clerk, it's gonna be a button that says, hey, login with X. So that's the part with the authentication. If you use different identity provider than Clerk, you just have to do the same. The protocol is the same. The next part is we have to test this login part and see if it's actually working. So if I open my application, there is a button that says sign in to schedule your post. And this is basically a Clerk sign in button. So once I click it, I'm going to be redirected to the sign in screen. And there should be basically a button that says continue with X. And once I've clicked, you're going to be redirected to the twitter.com and you're going to see the name of your app that we've just created. And it says YouTube tutorials wants to access your X account, and here is the scopes: post and repost for you, stay connected, and all of this stuff. You can view, they can view basically all of the posts. So once I authorize this application, I'm gonna be redirected to the Clerk, and Clerk will validate the data and basically will make a profile with this Twitter account. So if I open the dashboard and click on users, you're gonna see that there is an account with my X. And you can see that I've been logged in, and this is the account with my profile picture. So this is the home page, and from here, we are gonna schedule our post. So guys, this is a very basic SHA-CN form. It's not complicated inside that. I'm gonna open to see what it looks like. So basically this is the current time, and there is a schedule card component that basically render a specific form with this input that's gonna be for content. And the second part is like a date picker and a time picker that it's gonna allows users to select a specific time that they wanna post this X. So you can use whatever you want for a design system. I'm just a fan of SHA-CN, so that's why I'm using this one. It's too easy to make this happen. And there is a validation that is just for the UI. If it's gonna have like a text required field and a schedule date is in future. So basically you can schedule posts on the in future. So this is just the onSubmit function that's gonna happen if the form data is valid. So there is just a console walk and we are gonna see exactly the data that we want. So let's open first the console. So you're gonna see we can add some text and we can choose, let's say for today, for 4 p.m. So if I schedule post, you're gonna see in the console walk the text and the schedule date, which is actually the 4 p.m. value. So here we have to enhance this function to actually send the post or schedule the post inside our queue. So how this Redis queue works, it's exactly a store where you can delay some object to be executed at a specific time. So in order to achieve that, we have to install a couple of libraries. So the first one is gonna be Redis, then boomq for the workers, and TSC alias because I'm using alias. If you don't use aliases, this is the alias. You don't need this one. This is just for the build of the worker. So once you've installed these functions, we have to basically create right now options with all of these environment variables that we need. But first I'm going to explain you how this is work. So Redis, you can download Redis in Docker. So basically I have a Docker dashboard and I've just installed the Redis from their website, and it's automatically open on the localhost 6379 port. So basically you can create an instance in their website. I'm gonna show you on the deployment how this will work, but for locally you can just use your Docker and install this Redis image. So if you want to see a better UI for this Redis, you can just install the Redis Insights. That's just an app from Redis, and basically you can connect to the localhost 6379, and this is actually your Redis store. It's empty right now, so you're gonna see how we can add keys with a specific data with a specific delay. So first we have to create let's say options that we can reuse. So let's say it's gonna be the client, and here we can just export Redis options. So that's gonna be from type Redis options from Redis, and then we can just generate the host, the port, and the password. So password is available only on the deployment Redis container. So if you would like to deploy and use the deploy version, you're just gonna receive a password, and in this way it's gonna be more secure. But in localhost we don't need password because no one can access your localhost. So so the next thing that we have to do is we have to put these environment variables inside the env file. So this is my env file. So the first 6 settings is actually the core configuration. The link of this repository is gonna be inside the video description, and I decided to not show you how you can configure Clerk because this video is basically focused on X API. So you can see these settings and you can receive all of the code in the link in the description of the video. So basically this is the Redis host, this is the port, and there is no reason for password because you don't need this one for localhost. So once you deploy the app, you're just gonna put the password, the port, and the host for the cloud. So this is gonna be the settings, and then let's say we can create a new workers folder. So we can use and create our worker and make it on a root level, let's say. So here we can make basically types file where we can export all of our queues. We're just gonna have only one, let's say, schedule posts. The name, it doesn't matter, just has to be unique. And then we actually have to create our queue. So let's say this is gonna be inside the post, and we are gonna just create one queue. So in this queue, we can export, like, let's say, schedule post queue. So it's gonna be a new queue which is gonna be imported from boomq. And here the first parameter is actually the name of the queue. So we're gonna use the queues schedule post, and the next one is actually settings. So the connection is gonna be the Redis options that we just created. And then let's see, we don't need anything right now as a connection. So the next step is gonna be just to export this queue. Now what we have to do is actually we have to get the data from the form and send it directly to this queue so it can be available inside Redis. So let's open the card, and here in onSubmit we have to add our logic. So this has to be server side, so that's why I have created a file actions, and I have two functions, send post and schedule post. So we have to make it like work right now, the schedule one. So let's say we would like to receive text and send that. That's gonna be the only data that we're gonna need. And here we would like to schedule this post. So let's say this is gonna be await schedule post queue, and here we can add, and here it has to receive the name of the job actually. So we have queues the schedule post, and the second parameter is actually the data. So basically the data is gonna be text and then send art is gonna be something different. So we have to pass like options here, and we can pass a delay. So how many seconds would you like to delay this post to be consumed? So we can make something like new date, and this is gonna be the sent art, and we're gonna pass the time. We're gonna get the time in like the timestamp, and we're gonna just subtract it by now. So in that way, we're gonna see how many seconds this job will be delayed. And then we can add a couple more. So let's say how many attempts. Let's say 3. So basically, if something fails, you can say how many attempts would you like to see, or would you like to like retry the worker functionality of that specific post. So here we can just add like a type as well. So let's see. So here we can just add in this file just a new type, and this is gonna be a schedule post job data, and it's gonna include text, and we have to have like a user ID so we can know and we can get the access token for the specific user. So we would like to get the user ID as well. So let's just get this type and put it like here. So let's see, on the art it won't work on the art, but actually on the specific queue we can add here as a generic one. Yep. So this is actually the type that it's gonna receive as a data. Here you can see that user ID is missing, so we can just get it from the Clerk. And I believe if we do auth from Clerk, we're just gonna receive the user ID, and we're gonna return error if there is no user ID available. So basically, if it's not authenticated. So we are gonna pass the user ID and the text, and we will have just 3 attempts with this delay. So that's the only thing that you have to do. So let's just see if that works. So if I run the application and use this schedule post inside the onSubmit function, so we're gonna pass the date, and the text is gonna be here as well. So let's see right now if I refresh the page. And schedule a post, so let's say for 4, PM. So if I schedule the post, you're gonna see that the post has been scheduled. So now if I open the Redis Insight and refresh, we have to have, yep. So this is the folder with the queue, and this is the a specific metadata of these ones. And you can see the events. Actually, this is all of the events. So you can see we have only one with job ID 1, which is automatically generated. It's delay, and this is the second that it's delayed. So you can see if we open the one, you're gonna see the data that we've passed. So the text is here, and the user ID is here as well. So this is gonna be executed with this delay, and there is gonna be 3 attempts. So this is gonna stay in Redis for forever if no one is pull the data, the event from this queue. So event is here, but no one will execute this event if we don't do that. So we are gonna create a worker with boomq library, so it can connect to this Redis instance and listen for. It's gonna listen for specific events, and when once event delay time is finished, and it means if I schedule a post for 4 p.m. and now it's 4 p.m., the worker will pull the event data, and we can execute some functionality inside this worker. So let's just create inside this folder. So let's just create a new file that's gonna be the worker. Let's say export on schedule post worker. So this is gonna be actually a new. So this is gonna return new worker from boomq. So the first parameter is the queue, the job name, and the second parameter is actually a callback that's gonna receive the data, and we can do whatever we want. So basically, this is gonna be, we can pass a generic like the type, so we can just see inside this job is gonna be exactly the data from this type. So let's say we would like to get the text and user ID from this job. So job.data. So that's gonna be the text and the user ID. So what we want to do is actually we would want to send the actual post to Twitter. So let's say we can just console log this one, because this is gonna be a worker that it's working on a background mode. So we have to make like a new script in package.json to run on a different terminal, this worker. So we would like somehow to debug that. So let's say we're gonna console log that, and we would like to send the post. And if something fails, we can throw an error, because actually if there is an error inside this worker, based on the attempts, it's gonna retry. If you have more than 5 attempts and this is 4 times, if it's throw an error, it's gonna retry for 1 more time. And here we can basically send the post with this user ID and the text, and if everything's okay, we can console log that it successfully processed the post. But if there is an error, we can just console error, so we can have a more look on that. And here the second parameter is actually the options. So we have to pass the connection, so which is the Redis connection that we would like to connect. So this is the Redis option. So after we paste the Redis option, we can basically console log and get, so here we can get the user ID and the text, and we can just console log without doing anything for now. So let's see if that works. So we have one post worker. So as I've told you, this one is not part of our main Next.js application. So in order to achieve that, we have to open a new terminal, and we have to run this worker somehow. So now we have to open the package.json. So as I've told you, this one is not part of our main Next.js application, so we have to write a script that is gonna run this worker on a different thread, like a Node.js environment. So let's just save this one. So here we can console walk something like to see if the file is used. So let's say just worker started and is waiting for jobs, and we can just export defaulted and remove this export const from here. And at the bottom, let's just make this work so we can see what's going on. So the next thing that we have to do is we would like to make a script to run this one. So let's just open the scripts. So let's say we can make a worker def function, and this is going to be just a bun and the file to our specific worker. If you don't use bun, you can just type node here as well. It has to start the worker. Open a second terminal and type bun run worker def. Has been starting, is waiting for jobs. And our first event, the delay, I don't remember actually the time, so we're gonna schedule a new post. So let's say it's gonna be a post from X, and this is gonna be scheduled for 3:09, and because now it's 3:08, and if I schedule that post and open the Redis insights, you're gonna see that there is a new job ID, and this one is the delay. There is a 22 seconds. The value is inside milliseconds, and that's why you don't see the actual value. So this is the data, and after 22 seconds, this has to be executed, and we can see the text ID and the user ID, and actually this callback is going to be executed. So I see that it's a function. It has to be just a new worker. So it's gonna never, this has to be a worker, not a function. So if I stop it and run it again, you can see a couple of jobs has been sent, basically 2 of them, because the time has been passed. So you can see there are multiple events. So you're gonna see the processing post for the first one is undefined, and then the second one is undefined because we didn't set up this worker once we've created them. So I'm gonna just clear this and just run again the worker. So let's just create a new one. So let's say this is gonna be for 3:11 and schedule it. So you're gonna see again it's scheduled, and if I open it, you're gonna see that this is just a 26 seconds delay, and this is the data that we have to receive. So when the time is 3:11, we have to see this console walk, and you can see the processing post for the user ID and with this text, and it's sending actually the data, and then it successfully processed this one. So if I open the Redis insights, so you're gonna see here, so we can pass an option if you want. Here, once we schedule it, we can say remove on complete. So once it's just completed successfully, it's gonna be deleted from the Redis insight. So let's just remove these events for now. And if you pass a new one, you're gonna see actually that it's just gonna, there's gonna be 8 seconds to this one. So if I open it, you're gonna see this the seconds here, and I've clicked it 2 times, so that's why you see the 2 times. And if I refresh right now, you're gonna see they have been removed. and all of them are successfully processed. So the next thing that we have to do is actually we have to make this send post work and actually send this specific data to the X profile. So let's just open the X API. So if I open the X developers one and click on docs, and here we have to find the X API, and then inside post there is gonna be a function that says tweet on this specific endpoint. So we would like to make a fetch to this endpoint method post. So let's see the headers. It's gonna be content type. This is gonna be application JSON, and then the next part is gonna be body. So if you pass a body, it has to be just like a JSON. This has to be stringified. And here we can pass the parameter is, I believe, text. So if you pass the text, it's gonna just pass this one, and we can get the response here. So let's say we would like to get the data. So wait response.json, and if something fails, so if response is not okay, we would like to console log to return actually a promise.reject. So in that way, this is gonna fail, and it's gonna fail the worker, and it's gonna retry to that now. So let's say this one is gonna be just fail to send a post, and if it's okay, just gonna return it. And this is not a function, this is a property. So let's see. Right now we have to pass the user that we would like to use. So we have only the user ID, so we have to get the access token from Quirk so it can work. So let's say token, it's gonna be function get token. So no, it's gonna be from Quirk actually. So we're gonna create a Quirk client. So let's say Quirk client, and here is gonna be Quirk dot users dot, it's gonna be awaited because this is a promise, and this is gonna be quirk.users.get user OAuth access token. So we can pass the user ID, and the second parameter is the provider, so we're just gonna pass the X because this is our provider. And here we can pass the token on authorization with a bearer token. So right now we can just see what's going on and retry again. So if I stop all of this one and clear the provider, and if we run the worker, and let's say I want to schedule a post for today and 3:80, so after 20 seconds this is gonna schedule a specific post. So let's see, it's the 7th job, and after 60 seconds this has to trigger the worker, and the worker has to call the send post function. It has to get the token from Quirk, and you can see there are 3 events that the 3 times, because I have added 3 attempts. So the first one fails, the second one fails, and the third one fails. It stopped because this one is actually failed. So we can add also as well remove on fail if you would like, but I don't suggest to, because you can see this one and debug it if it happens in production. And basically, let's see, it fails to send the post, so we can just console log this data so you can see the response from the X and why it's failed. So if I open and schedule one more time, so let's just pick 90. So if I schedule it after 2 seconds, we're gonna see there is no error because probably I didn't save this one. So let's just stop it and rerun it again because probably I forgot to rerun it. So let's create a new one. So let's say it's for 3:20. So if I schedule the post, we're gonna see after 20 seconds we're gonna see what's actually the error. So probably something with the token or something with something. Oh, this one is this one is promise. So once we get it, let's see, it's a paginated one. So this returns a multiple OAuth access tokens. So if you see, this is the result. So this is the token. So if you would like to get the token, it's gonna be, yeah, you can see it's 403. So basically unsupported because we don't pass the correct token. So this is gonna be tokens at 0, and if there is a value, we would like to get it's gonna be tokens response. So this one is gonna have data, and this one is array. So we're gonna get the first one and get the token. And if there is no token, we can return as well a promise reject, so it can retry. So, and if we want to work that one, only if there is an error. So let's see if I run again the worker, and if I make a new post, 21, I just schedule it, and you can see it's processing. It's successfully processed. So basically everything's passed from here, and the worker, it console log the success one. So if I open now my X account and refresh the page, we have to see a new post that says, yep, it's below. Before 80 seconds it says post from X, and this is actually the post. So that's how the whole process works. So right now I'm going to show you how you can deploy this one so you can use in actual production environment. So first I'm going to delete this post because I don't need this in my X. So the next thing that we have to do, so basically we have to have a place where we can deploy our Next.js application, and we have a place where we can deploy the worker. So as I've told you, this one has two applications. So the first one is Next.js. We can deploy that one on Vercel, and the second one is the worker. We can deploy it on Heroku, on Railway, on Render. It doesn't matter, just a Node.js environment we need. I'm going to show you Railway. So the first one, we want to make a function that's going to build this worker because it's just a development function, development script that we've created. So let's make one that says worker build. So we can use the TSS, the CSC. So there is going to be inside the repository, it's going to have a worker JSON file. This is the O directory, specific TypeScript configurations and what to include. So it is going to include only the workers and the file and the functions that's going to be used inside that folder. So if I open the package JSON as well, and the TSC alias is just if you use OAuth in your project. And then we have to have a command that is going to be start. So it's gonna make node, and then let's see the directory first. We're gonna give a try to worker build. So if I run that one, it's gonna create a dist folder. So you can see the workers and the post, and this is the worker that we have to run. So node, let's say here dist, and then workers, posts, and that's gonna be a worker.js file. So this is the mini file with our code, and this has to be run on a Node.js environment. So let's see if I run it, is it gonna run? So if I click on start, yep, it's gonna run, but there is no environment variables on this environment because it's used in production run. So that has to be configured inside our quote. So that's our project. Everything's works. So I'm gonna add it to my GitHub repository so we can use that code. So let's say it's gonna be implemented X scheduler. And just to try first, we can build first the Next.js app to see if everything's okay. So if I just create a build for that, and if everything's passed, we're ready to deploy our apps. Okay, so linters passed, so and the project has been just built. So if I commit this to main branch, and if we open Vercel, so this is gonna be the view that you're gonna see once you've created a registration. So if I click on Add New and click then on Projects, here is the repository for all of my YouTube tutorials. So if I just import it, you're gonna see this is the project name. So we would like to say X scheduler because there is gonna be a lot of tutorials inside that repository. So we would like to post this one. It's going to be a Next.js application. And the root, is there a way? Yep, we can select this X scheduler. So here, environment variables, we can just paste the env. But first, when we deploy it, we can just import this file. So I'm going to show you how basically you can use the file to make this work easier. So if I click deploy, this is gonna deploy our app, and it's gonna run all the work. So there's gonna be errors because we don't have any environment variables. So once this is like deployed, so if I open again and refresh the page, this is gonna be our app. So if I go on settings, environment variables, so here you can see we can just import the env file. So if I open my file explorer, you're gonna see it's inside tutorials X scheduler. So if I found the env file, it's gonna be this one. So if I just open it, you're gonna see all of the specific environment variables. So first, this is all of the Next.js of the Clerk values, and here you can see the Redis. So localhost is only working on our machine, so now we have to create a Redis instance for that. So I've just made a registration in Redis Cloud Console. I do it on pause because I had to put my credentials. So if you create a new profile, you're gonna see this view. So basically, you can create your first database. So choose the region that is closest to you or your clients that you're gonna deploy. So mine's inside Europe. So let's say this is like a 30 megabyte of free Redis cloud. 30 megabytes is a lot of this for this application. It can handle hundreds of thousands of posts for that one because the data is so small. So this is the Redis client. If you click connect, it's gonna connect the production Redis to your Redis Insights app. So I don't need this one for now. So this is the public endpoint that we have to put. So if I open the Vercel, and we have to put here the Redis host, and the port is actually this one. So if we enter the port, and then the password is gonna be presented, let's see, probably in security. Yeah, here you can copy the password and paste it inside this value. So if I click on save, everything's okay. So we have to redeploy this one because we have new environment variables. So you can see there is a new deployment for that. The first one fails probably because of the environment variable. So let's leave this one. So the next thing that we want to deploy is actually the worker. So I've created an account in Railway. So here we can add our GitHub link. So basically we can open my repository, get the link, and we can just open the template and make it work. So if you click on this one and click on deploy, it's gonna start the deployment for the process. Basically, it works because I've just made a registration with my GitHub account. So if you click, it just so simple. You can just connect your GitHub with the Railway. So here inside settings, you can make a specific build. So the build command is gonna be the worker command. So let's say npm run build, npm run worker build. So this is gonna be the build command, and the deploy command is gonna be npm run worker start. So here it's gonna be in the closest to you, so Europe as well, and that's basically all of the functions that we have to do. And then we just have to pass the exact folder. Okay, so this is started. Yeah, it's deployed the Next.js because we have a new command here. So this is not gonna work because we don't have environment variables. So here on env, we can just add new, and then we have to make it here one by one because there is no import. So if I just add these values, so let's see, row editor, it's gonna be env. So if I copy this one and paste it here, so in the Redis host, we're gonna use the previous data, and the port is gonna be this one, and the password is gonna be this one. So if I click on update variables and then click on deploy again, it should start from this command, npm run worker. So if I click on the app and see why it's this not built, it basically says, yeah, there is no actually application like that because I have a root folder which is YouTube tutorials, and then we have just a subpath which is actually the X scheduler. So we have to edit this one. So this is only for my project, you won't have this problem. So let's see if there is a way I can, yep, root directory is gonna be X scheduler, I think. So let's see, I'm just gonna copy this one, yep, and this is gonna be with a slash. So if I click on deploy again and click on the initializing and click on deployments, you're gonna see a new one. So this is the build walk. So let's see if it's gonna, yep, it's copied the right project. So right now it's gonna build the project. If I open again the Vercel, you're gonna see that Vercel is ready. So if I click it, and if I click on this one, you're gonna see it's gonna be X scheduler 7 Vercel app. So if I click on sign in, I would have to be able to log in with my X. Yep. So you can see again the same post form. So this one won't work because our worker is not deployed yet. So if you see, it's gonna copy the files, and then once it's ready, it's gonna go to deploy works, which is basically we will run the worker. We have to wait for a couple of seconds. It's sharing the credentials right now, and I believe that's the last part of the building, and then it's gonna go to the deployment process. Yeah, build time successfully. So if I open the deploy works, you're gonna see right now the deployments, and this is gonna has to console work the start of the worker, because that's the initial file. It's gonna waiting for jobs. So if we are gonna see starting the container, so there is a two important warnings. So the Redis quote is deleting files, deleting data if the size of your storage is gonna be more than 30 megabytes, because that's the free version. So you can basically click on let's see, durability, and change this one. So you have to edit this one and change it to no eviction. So that means do not delete my data if this memory is full. So on the next deployment, this is gonna be this warning is gonna be like uh, not here. So if we see uh, it started the worker, so everything should be okay. Right now, this is just a warning, but I'm gonna just deploy one more time just to be sure. If we click on redeploy, we're gonna see it's gonna build again the image, so this is a bit slower. And I believe it's gonna go super fast for 1 minute. So I'm gonna just cut this video so you guys won't waste your time. So the build has been passed, and if I open the deploy box, you're gonna see that the worker has been started and is waiting for jobs. And there is just one working because it's just like a development. So once you have created all this on production environment, everything should be okay. So it's just a configuration for this npm builds. So if I open now the scheduler and try to schedule a post, so let's say hello world, and choose basically in 351. So if I schedule the post, you're gonna see that my post has been scheduled, and after 30 seconds, we should receive a console log here that's gonna process the event. So I'm gonna cut out from this video. So you can guys now see that's in 351, the exact same seconds, the post has been processed and it has been successfully posted to X. So if I open my X account and refresh, I have to see a hello world post before 20 seconds. So that's how Next.js works. That's how the X API works. So guys, I hope that you have enjoyed the video. It was helpful for you. And thank you so much for your attention. See you in the next video.